Fresno County is a leader in the region. There are many other counties that rely on us to kind of coordinate efforts around emergency medical services. And we really don't think about how important having a team like this is until we're in the midst of a crisis. But every day there are calls for service that go out. We have people who work in law enforcement, people who work for the fire service, and of course we have people who work for the ambulance services going out providing aid to people throughout the Central Valley. And so we wanted to recognize your great work, and I'm going to turn it over to Dan at this point to take it away.
Great. Thank you, Supervisor Mendez and board members. My name is Dan Lynch. I'm the Division Manager and EMS Director for the EMS Agency for the Department of Public Health. I want to thank you for celebrating National Emergency Medical Services Week with us. With me today, I have representatives from various agencies throughout Fresno County, Sequoia Safety Council, Selma Fire Department, American Ambulance, the Fresno County EMS Communications Center, and my staff from the EMS division. They clean up pretty nice, and I've got to tell you, I think there's going to be some new expectations in the future because you guys look pretty good. This year actually marks a milestone for our EMS system, 50 years of paramedics in Fresno County. In 1975, there was 25 individuals that attended a course from Fresno City Fire Department, Mid-Valley Fire Protection District, Jones Ambulance, and Fresno Ambulance at the time. They attended classes at Valley Medical Center to become the first paramedics in Fresno County and also in the Central Valley. Since that time, Fresno County has trained over 1,600 paramedics through our Fresno County Paramedic Program. We continue to be the primary training course for paramedics in the Valley. Shelly Alanes, who's next to me with us today, she is our EMS coordinator and paramedic program director that oversees this training still today. So we're continuing that training in Fresno County. In 2024, EMS responded to 225,000 calls for medical services in Fresno County. It is a busy system, and it depends on all levels of service that respond to provide the most excellent care to our communities. We celebrate this week with all of our dispatchers, first responders, ambulance providers, hospitals. We greatly appreciate the support of this board and the previous boards and the county administration for the great system that they've allowed us to provide. So thank you very much.
My middle son, Michael, is working to become a firefighter, and he just finished his EMS courses and will be taking his state test here probably in about a month. So very excited for him and appreciate all of your hard work. And obviously, if there's any comments from my colleagues, now's the time.
No comments? Go ahead and, oh, wait a second, we have to do
I'll make a motion to approve the proclamation.
Second.
second. All in favor, so by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Please come up.
We now move to item number 6. Under Supervisor Magsayo, proclaim May 2025 as Court-Appointed Special Advocates Awareness Day in County of Fresno.
You're still up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Here with us is Wilma Hashimoto. She is the executive director of CASA. And just a little bit about the organization and the important work that they do. So we have about 1,400 foster kids, I believe, right now in Fresno County, which is a significant reduction from about the 2,600 we had a few years ago. But foster children who are in the court system need advocates. And CASA is advocates for those kids, but even more than that, they build relationships, and the work they do is amazing. And there are numerous volunteers that work at CASA and make connections with kids, the hundreds of kids that are involved in the court system. And this is a call to action because CASA needs more volunteers. And if you're interested in making a difference in children's lives right here in Fresno County, please see Wilma afterwards or go to the CASA website to enroll. But Wilma, I appreciate you being here with your team, and if you can share a little bit more about your organization and the significance of this proclamation, that'd be great.
Thank you. Thank you, Board of Supervisor Magzig. You did very well. I think you cut my presentation by half. Glad to be here, Chairman Mendez, Board of Supervisors, CAO Nerlin, and of course, County Council Cedarburg. We are just thrilled to be here, and we appreciate your support ongoing. The mere fact that if I was to speak to any one of you, you all know what CASA does, and that speaks volumes. We were established in 1996 with an average of serving 300 plus children a year. I did the math, and that's approximately over 87, just about 9,000 children. More than that, we always say we're more than numbers. We make a difference. And as graduation is coming about, we walk and journey alongside of them so they graduate from high school. And we don't stop there. We recently opened up at the City Center for a transitional year to make sure that our kids that we work so hard with for the past 4 or 5 years to get them to graduate, that they won't have the issues of unemployment, which many of them do sostatistically, that they won't have food insecurities within the first year of transitioning out, nor will they be homeless. So as Sonia had said earlier, we have great partnerships that is just fortifying the walls around our foster youth, because we know if we don't, we're going to add to all the items that I just mentioned, especially the homelessness. We have 26, this is our 29th year, we have approximately 25 employees, about 200 volunteers, and each one of our 300 children that we serve have a story. It could be our advocates are serving one youth, or it could be a sibling set of 10. It could be domestic violence, took away a parent the night before, we get a call from the judge, and we will have an advocate with the children who saw the fatality occur. It's not an easy job, and I applaud the people who are standing all over here, and this is just part, because they do the hard work. It's emotionally draining. They read about the case, they work on cases that are very similar to their own circumstance or the age of their child. And they know what we want to give these children. We want to give them experience and have a happy childhood, and that's exactly what we do. Sure, our mission, which by the way, we just updated to reflect what we do, is that we train volunteers as court-appointed special advocates to be a guiding voice empowering vulnerable children and youth in foster care so that they can reach their full potential. And so with that, I just want to thank you for this proclamation, for being supporters of CASA, and always, whenever I call any of you, it's like the bat phone, you pick up or you return the call right away. And that, I know you represent so many organizations across the valley, and we're just one. So thank you for investing in us.
Any comment from the board?
Just briefly, Chair, I want to thank you, Trustee Hashimoto. She's elected next door to us, for the work that you and the organization have done for many, many years. As you know, my family and I have been foster parents for 6 years, so we're very familiar with the challenges and having worked with some of your folks. I know that it's not just the advocacy, but it's the relationship, the mentorship, the really that connection that you have with our kids and our community. I just want to thank you. Your many, many years of leadership on this issue I know you're transitioning out, so there's some big shoes to fill.
130 days.
30 days. But thank you so much for the work that you do and all your amazing team and staff members that have been pushing this advocacy world a little bit hard, but when it's needed. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And you hit it right on the nose. It is my amazing team and our terrific advocates. And again, reiterating what Board of Supervisor Mag said, we definitely would love to have more, more advocates.
Sonia Brigay, I just wanted to add, thank you for acknowledging CASA. They're incredible partners, and wanted to take this opportunity to thank Wilma. And I guess it is public that she's leaving us. This has been an incredible partnership. It will remain incredible partnership. And I want to thank Wilma for her leadership, not only with CASA, but also on our foster care oversight and supporting our kids and supporting our department in all the work that we do. So thank you, and thank you for supporting our kids. This has been, they're an amazing organization and incredibly valuable to our foster care system.
That wasn't planned, but thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Is there any public comment on this item? Hearing none,
I'll move for approval of the proclamation.
got a second? All in favor, so I'm saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Please come up.
We now take up the items that were pulled from this morning's consent calendar. Item 39, under probation, pulled by a member of the public, approve and authorize chairman to execute an agreement with Tech 84 Incorporated.
Good morning, Chairman Mendez and board members. I am Kirk Haynes, your Chief Probation Officer for Fresno County. We're here to ask for approval to move forward on the purchase of 3 body scanners for the Juvenile Justice Campus. We've seen a rise in contraband that's been coming into the institution over the last few years. And we've had an opportunity to be able to make this purchase from state funding for about $470,000 plus a 3-year warranty, which adds up to about $550,000. And so asking for your approval to be able to move forward in order for us to keep the facility safe from contraband coming into the institution. The scanners will only be used on the youth as they either come back in, as they're booked into the facility, obviously, if they ever leave the facility for programming or furloughs or those kinds of things. It won't be used on the general public, but only on the youth that are in custody. And I'm available for any questions if you have any.
Any questions from the board? No. Is there any public comment on this item?
Morning, Chairman, Board, CEO, Nerlin. John Jasper, I'm the Vice President, Unit 36, SEIU, over all the supervisor units within the county. Here today to echo the words of our Chief Probation Officer. Currently work at the JJC myself. I'm in charge of the booking operations at the Juvenile Justice Campus. This is a vital tool that, and I felt very important to come up here and discuss this, to keep employees, youth safe in the facility. We've had a lot of close calls with stuff coming in. Right now, officers do pat downs. They have to do other means of searches. This is a less invasive procedure with a scanner to ensure public safety, to make sure that we have nothing coming inside the facility that would cause any harms to employees or anything. So basically, we're here to champion SEIU with the department. And I felt it very important that we'd come up here. Too many times we come up here in opposition of agenda items. Today, we're in support of. And that goes to show that good things can happen when you have a union and a department that is willing to work together to make things copacetic for the whole group. So that's all my comments.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comment, or hearing none, I'm going to bring it back to the board.
Move for approval.
Got a second? All in favor, say by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
We now move to item 44, which was pulled by Supervisor Magsaye due to the Levine Act. Under Public Works and Planning, authorize Director of Public Works and Planning to, subject to review and approval by County Council as to legal form and auditor, controller, tax collector as to accounting form to execute 21 on-call agreements for engineering, architectural, and other related consultant services.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion if there's no opposition to
Yeah.
approve.
I'll second.
got a second. Is there anyone from the public to comment? Hearing none, I'll accept that. Got a motion, so all in favor, so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.
That concludes all our consent items that were pulled from this morning. We return to the regular agenda under item number 7, under Supervisor Bredefield and Supervisor Pacheco. Conduct first hearing to amend the ordinance code of Fresno County Title 10 to add Chapter 10.48, unlawful possession of detached Cadillac converters, and waive reading of the ordinance in its entirety and set the second hearing for June 10th, 2025. Designate County Council to prepare a fair and adequate summary of the proposed ordinance and direct the clerk of the board to post and publish the required summary in accordance with Government Code Section 25124B1.
Thank you. This is an effort to address in a more substantial way the theft of catalytic converters throughout the county with the unincorporated areas. The city of Fresno initiated this similar ordinance, and they had a reduction in 63% of the catalytic converter thefts. Right now, under existing state law, you need to have a possession of 9 or more catalytic converters in order to seize the property and have an infraction. Well, we've changed that with the ordinance. I want to thank the co-sponsor, Supervisor, sorry.
Yeah, don't demote him.
I'm so used to saying Councilmember. Supervisor Brian Pacheco. I want to thank the County Council's office, Administration's office, also the Sheriff's Department for their feedback as well in order to bring this forward. This is an effort to stop a crime that continues to go on. It's very easy to cut catalytic converters. They're able to profit from it because of some of the substances in these catalytic converters, and I think this ordinance, should it pass, will have a tremendous effect on stopping this and holding these criminals accountable, which is what it's really all about. And with that, I'll pass it to Supervisor Pacheco.
Thank you, Supervisor. As Supervisor Bredefield said, this is simply an effort to update and modernize what we already have on the book, puts a little more teeth in our ordinance. And again, when the city makes these ordinances, it generally tends to move to the rural part of the community, and this is an effort to mitigate that. Again, I want to thank my colleague, Supervisor Bredefield, who I want to give credit where credit's due. He did most of the work to get this ordinance up to date and with all the codes, appreciate all the work of him and his staff to do that. Want to fully acknowledge that. So with that, Mr. Chairman, we're ready for the public.
Is there any public comment on? Go ahead.
Good morning, Honorable Mr. Chair, Honorable Supervisors. My name is Darrell Terrell, a Moreno Valley resident from Riverside County. I want to thank you, Honorable Supervisor Bredefield, Honorable Supervisor Pacheco, for moving this proposed ordinance forward. I have traveled to counties like yours from Ventura, Los Angeles, Imperial, San Diego, Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo, Tulare, Kern County to advocate for the ordinance that you have before you, what I call the one and you're done ordinance. There's a loophole in state law AB 641 that allows a person, as you said before, your colleagues, that allow a person to steal up to 8 catalytic converters and nothing will happen to them. I mean, what kind of nonsense is that? So what we did in Riverside County and San Bernardino County, I went before my Honorable Board of Supervisors in Riverside County 3 times to advocate for a one and done ordinance, and we finally passed it. All 28 cities in my county are on the same page. And let me just share you some history. There were 3 cities in our county that already had it on their books. There were 6 when our county adopted that ordinance. I went to 19 cities to have this ordinance adopted. And we, as I said again, we're all on the same page. And I drove here 277 miles here because, like you, we got to make crime illegal again by county by county. For far too long, lawmakers in Sacramento have turned a blind eye to the voices of victims and law-abiding citizens. They think it's okay for a thief to have up to 8 catalytic converters and face no consequences. They don't think thieves should be held accountable for 1 catalytic converter. And you have to ask yourself this question. Why in the beginning it was 6? They could have did 1, but they didn't do it. Someone asked me, why you didn't tell your state representative? Because I asked him, I said, are you going to do it? Would you sponsor a law like this? He said, oh yeah. I said, no, you're not. You know why you're not? Because your party will not allow you to do it. So we, as counties, I'm down in Southern California, and have to be on the same page. That's why I came up here. And hopefully could get all your cities and all the mid-county. I can't go too far up, far as I could go right now is Central California. But if all of your colleagues could work with your cities and the other counties that's next to you, we could be on the same page. Then we could send a message to Sacramento that we will no longer tolerate people stealing at all. So thank you again, supervisors, and I hope you give an aye vote.
Any other public comment? Good morning, Isaac.
Good morning. Good morning, Chairman Mendez and supervisors. My name is Isaac Torres, and I've probably been serving as the Deputy Sheriff for Fresno County for over 30 years. For the past 12 years, I've investigated metal thefts on the Ag Crimes Task Force, giving me firsthand insight into the growing problem of catalytic converter thefts. The crime affects both city and residents and businesses. Residents often come out to their vehicles in front of their house, even in their driveways, and the catalytic converters are cut off, which causes them a loss of money, pay their deductibles, and also loss in revenue for them not being able to go to work. I've had commercial businesses along the Central and Golden State corridor park their vehicle fleets out in their parking lots. Thieves come in, steal all their cat converters. It's a huge loss to those businesses. Auto repair businesses along the Jensen and Cedar corridors, having their customers' vehicles there left overnight. The crooks are coming in, stealing the cat converters. Ultimately, the business is responsible for replacing those converters, the stolen ones. And lastly, the farmers. I can't say that enough. The farmers have their wind machines out in the clandestine areas. Thieves are going in there. Obviously, the citrus trees are covering it up from the public's view from the roadways. So they're out there going in, cutting off the cat converters off the wind machines, which then can cause significant damage during the freeze and also financial loss to the farming operation. According to the National Insurance Crime Bureau, the U.S. last year alone in 2023, 28,000 catalytic converter thefts. In California and Texas, we're leading the nation in reported claims. The crime is quick but costly, but victims generally face anywhere between $1,000 to $3,500, just depending on what type of catalytic converter is that's stolen, specifically off hybrid vehicles. In 1975, the catalytic converters were basically implemented, and the auto industries had to install those on the vehicles to fight emissions. And obviously, all those cat converters contain rare earth minerals like platinum, rhodium, and palladium. In 2020, rhodium was valued at $14,500 per ounce. Palladium was valued at $2,336 per ounce. Platinum was valued at $1,061 per ounce. Today, rhodium is valued at $5,600 per ounce. Palladium is at $980 per ounce. Platinum's at $1,020 per ounce. When the prices of those rare earth minerals go up, so does catalytic converter thefts. Fresno County recycling businesses are paying on average $100 per catalytic converter, or up to $500 for the actual hybrid vehicles cat converter. If a thief targets 10 victims a day, getting paid $100, they can make $1,000 a day. Do the math. When California passed laws regulating the recyclers, they didn't penalize the individuals caught with the stolen catalytic converters. The city of Fresno addressed the gap with an ordinance requiring proof of ownership, but unfortunately, Fresno County items within the city of Fresno have no such ordinance, creating a loophole.
Go ahead and finish up.
And if a thief is caught in the county with that catalytic converter, there's nothing, basically leaving the deputy powerless. Again, I commend the board for taking up this issue, and I ask that you support this ordinance, and which would give deputies another tool on our belt to help us combat catalytic converter thefts. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to thank you, Isaac, for the feedback, and the supervisor from Riverside. You're a supervisor there? Oh, okay. Well, let me tell you something. I greatly appreciate you taking the time to come up here, and everything you said was 100% accurate. We, as a board in the county, as well as other local governments, have to deal with the insanity from the laws, or lack of laws, that are created in Sacramento. Example, nine catalytic converters. I mean, who comes up with this stuff? It's the same thing with copper wire theft that we did several weeks ago. This board had to come together to do something to give the tools to law enforcement, because up in Sacramento, they believe in bowing down before criminals instead of helping victims. So we have to do the job, and we're going to do the job. So thank you for taking the time to come. Thank you, Isaac. And with that, I'd like to make a motion for approval.
Second? You second it? Oh, okay. All in favor, so we're saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.
We now move to item number 8. Under County Council, conduct first hearing to amend the master schedule of fees charged to recover costs ordinance by amending section 600 County Council, subsection 601 attorney services, by increasing the fee rate of such services to $182 per hour for each attorney.
Okay, you the presenter?
Yes, I am. Now we turn to your favorite topic, which is paying your lawyers.
Yeah.
This item is before the board to increase our hourly rate to allow my office to recover the full cost, or at least the full cost as it was calculated as of last year, for the services that we provide to our subvented programs and all of our other programs, and some outside agencies that make use of our services.
And some of the outside agencies are special districts that.
Is
don't
correct.
have
Some
their own
special
lawyer.
districts make use of our services.
Any comment from the board? Is there any public comment on this item? Hearing none, I'll bring it back to the board.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move for approval.
Okay, I'll second it. All in favor, so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried.
We now move to item number 9. Under the Administrative Office, conduct public forum in accordance with Government Code Section 7283.1D, receive statistical report from the sheriff regarding the United States Immigration Customs Enforcement access provided to incarcerated individuals in the jail during 2024, and receive public comment.
Good morning, Chairman Mendez and members of the board. SB 54 was passed in California in 2017, commonly referred to as the Truth and Values Act. Today I'm going to report on our summary data for 2024 related to Fresno County Sheriff's Office and those individuals that were turned over to Immigration and Customs Enforcement in compliance with the law of SB 54. So in 2024, and these dates cover from January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2024, we had 26,214 bookings in the Fresno County Jail. We had 389 detainers or holds received from Immigration and Customs Enforcement. We ended up transferring 102 individuals to Immigration and Customs Enforcement based on those holds that we received. As far as interviews by Immigration and Customs Enforcement in our custodial facility, there was 0 interviews conducted by ICE. To give you a breakdown of those 102 that were transferred, 52 were crimes against persons, 3 were sex crimes, 41 were property crimes, and 6 were felony drug trafficking. All those crimes were classified as felonies. To give you a little bit more of a breakdown of some of the numbers and how it relates to this. Some numbers were very small, but just to go over some of the larger numbers. Felony domestic violence, which is Penal Code Section 273.5, we had 15 individuals that were transferred to ICE. Felony DUI, which is DUI with serious bodily injury or death, we had 12. Felony false imprisonment cases, there was 8. Felony assaults, which cover Penal Code Section 245, from 245A1 all the way to 245A4, we had 7. And we had 4 that were transferred for felony robbery charges. And there was another 8 transferred for felony burglary cases. These crimes ranged from the ones that I just mentioned, from 288A, sex crimes with children. We had a lot of drug trafficking offenses. There was child endangerment. There was identity theft and felony possession of stolen property, just to name a few of the crimes that were related to those that were transferred. Does anyone have any questions at this time?
Go ahead.
So with the DUIs, I think you indicated that there were 12 individuals who were turned over, and these were individuals who were arrested for DUIs, and they caused great bodily harm, so involved in an accident, I assume, harming others?
Yes, it was either great bodily harm, or what we call great bodily injury, or resulted in death.
Or death.
So those are felony-related drunk driving or driving under the influence, not just somebody who got pulled over who was above the .08 and had no accident, nobody was injured, nobody died. Not that. It was, those would not be eligible for transfer. It had to involve serious bodily injury or death.
And the reason I'm bringing that up is I know last year the County of Fresno participated in a campaign because the number of people who die on our county roads is very high compared to the rest of the state. And, 12 accidents where you have individuals under the influence who are in this country illegally who either killed someone or caused great bodily harm is, way too high. So I appreciate the work with that and the work that your department does. So far, the 102 that you've identified, when I look at all of these numbers, we're talking about significant crimes that they're committing. So I know that in the media, there's a lot of information out there that somehow there are different departments up and down the state that maybe are cooperating with ICE, and people are law-abiding out there. But everything you've highlighted here, people are involved with drug crimes, sex crimes, trafficking, crimes against persons, a number of different ones, and then that is very concerning. So I appreciate the work that your department puts in and fully support your efforts in regards to this Truth Forum and how you're operating. I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, so the question I have, there were 389 ICE detainers and holds received. We transferred 102. Why weren't all 389?
Well, sometimes we receive the holds and the individual is no longer in custody, or we also have to look to make sure that what they're requesting or that individual they're requesting to place the hold on has qualifying charges under SB 54 because we have to comply with the law under SB 54. So that may be a reason. And then, so the holds come over, but they're not always granted and the transfer is not always completed.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
And with that,
After these messages, we'll be right back.
First time in 10 years for me, Gary.
Yeah.
Never happened.
I'm informed it's a test, and we do not need to exit the room.
Our spot. Do you want me to do the back one?
No, it is a test. We've been informed it is a test.
Go back to
That's
the
telling me that we don't know that. Department tells you you got no fire, you got.
Okay, go ahead and exit the room.
Done. Done. Yeah, he did a phenomenal job.
He told me he was gonna present. I said, knock yourself out.
Somebody pull it, or?
They thought it was a test, but until we know he's a coordinator.
Why would you have a test during the board meeting?
I know,
Yeah, that's, no.
people are making, giving me half-back records.
There we go. We're done.
Does that solve it?
We're good.
Are we good?
That's still somebody pulled it.
Oh, they had to.
Yeah,
They could do it on the first floor.
yeah. Should be cameras everywhere. They did it, yeah, they had arrested them right now. Throw 'em in jail. That's the first, Bernice. Yeah. What do you mean? Who would do it? There's no test on board.
Hey, Nathan, do you have the card?
Joshua has
If
it
they
in his
did
office.
it,
Do you want
whoever
to sign
did
it
it should
now?
be fired.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll get you the card right now. Not here. Somehow we're see you Friday.
Well, yeah. Was it a test at the courthouse? A courthouse test. That triggered our system. Because we're connected with the tunnels. So if there's a big fireball there, I could see the Hollywood-like burst of fire coming down the tunnels. I am a little concerned that all of you get a fire alarm and then all those bills just steering around. I'm not even. Like Californians and earthquakes. Oh, it's an earthquake. Maybe we should do something. No, it'll pass. It'll be all right.
Oh, yeah, that's everybody on control.
Good, as a safety person, you cleared the hall.
Yeah, I like that.
And she is, where is she with the card? Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
I don't know where she went.
let's go ahead and get going again. If there's any more questions from the board?
Yeah, we just finished.
Or you were still
Yeah,
asking?
that's okay.
Now that we're back, I wanted to finish up one thing that Supervisor Bredefield had asked, and that was related to those detainers and those holds that we received that are not fulfilled. There are times that Immigration and Customs Enforcement does not come over and pick up people once they're released. So Therefore, the person is just released from custody because under SB 54, we are not legally allowed to have communication with them to say, hey, so-and-so is being released right now, come pick them up. So people are released, and that is an unfortunate consequence of a system that does not allow us to communicate with our law enforcement partners.
Yes, totally agree. And I want people to understand that, these are serious crimes when we're talking about domestic violence, DUI involving people being injured, assault, robbery, burglary, sex crimes, drug trafficking, child endangerment. These are not good folks. And again, just to follow up again, it's Sacramento who pander to these illegals and illegal criminals and makes it difficult for you and all of the people in law enforcement to do your jobs and to make the community safe. And it's unfortunate that we live with folks up in Sacramento and a governor that support this. He's trying to reinvent himself for his presidential run. It won't work. But basically somebody who panders to all of these people, welcomes all of the people that come here illegally. Nowhere in any country do you get away with crossing borders and get invited to have driver's licenses and health insurance and assembly members who want to give them homes. We live in an insane state where we have radical lunatics running the legislature, and it's making it dangerous for our community. We have seen young people murdered, raped by these illegal criminals who trafficked in children, in drugs, and sex. And hopefully one day we elect people who will stop this in this state so we make it safe. In the meantime, you are dealing with your hands tied and trying to get rid of these folks, but appreciate what you do, and every one of your law enforcement, all of us appreciate it, and the people in this community appreciate it. And thank you for all you do.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Sheriff. I think since I've been sworn in, you've been very helpful in working and navigating this process. You and I have had a number of conversations with regards to this data, and I think, thank you for compiling this data. I think it confirms what we all know, that 102 of the folks that you've turned over to federal authorities out of the 26,200 plus bookings that you had, it's a small percentage, tiny percentage. I think there's consensus that the vast majority of immigrants here come here to work in our agricultural industry, our food service industry, our food processing plants. But I did have one quick question. If you don't have the complete data, I'd love to get that later. How many investigations would you say that you have right now are dependent on testimony or witness accounts from folks that are under that category of undocumented?
I don't have those exact numbers, Supervisor Chavez. One thing, though, I've emphasized this time and time again. When individuals are the victims of crimes or they're the witness to a crime, the sheriff's office does not ask your immigration status. We are here to protect those individuals in our community, and your immigration status does not factor into whether we make arrests, how we conduct investigations. We serve every resident of Fresno County, and I want to emphasize that because if you are undocumented and you're out there and you have a daughter or someone or a son who's potentially the victim of a crime like human trafficking, we want you to call us. We're not going to ask your immigration status. And just on another note, when we're talking about all the information that Immigration and Customs Enforcement receives is information that is publicly available to anyone in our public. There is no special pipeline. There's no special anything for them. It is publicly available information that they receive. And the other thing I want to talk about too is what Supervisor Bredefield was talking about. When it comes to the sheriff's office, this isn't about politics. This is about public safety. I want to ensure that. And just as a reminder, these stats are from last year. I know this has been a big political topic right now with the current administration that's in the White House, but these stats of 102 that were transferred are from the previous administration when they were in charge of Immigration and Customs Enforcement and our federal government.
And I want to thank you for that, Sheriff, because I think you've tried to balance that as much as possible. We have a federal mandate, a federal approach. We have a state, and oftentimes our law enforcement folks get caught in the middle of having to decide and make that decision. And I think you and your department have done a really good job. You've been out there when we were working with the church groups and making sure that we don't deter victims of crimes from coming forward and helping us catch these individuals, catch bad people. And I think you know that for me, there's consensus. People that break the law, that are criminals, that are out there hurting people, we need to book them, process them, and get them out. But I think we also want to send the message that people that just come here to work, we're not going to be asking their documentation status. That is the federal government's job. It's not a local job.
And just as a reminder, Supervisor Chavez, these individuals were individuals that were booked into the Fresno County Jail. Our transfers have nothing to do with contacts out in the community where ICE was called to a residence or a school or anything like that. These individuals are booked and have been held in the Fresno County Jail on serious felonies.
The next report that you do, Sheriff, will be next year, around the same time, but it'll be for the 2025 calendar year, correct?
That's correct. It'll be January 1st of 2025 to December 31st of 2025. And when you look at the data here and you look at some of the crime stats, I'll go back to it. What was interesting, you have nobody on here that's charged with murder, but one thing that we have seen a lot of in Fresno County, and Supervisor Magsig brought this up earlier, is deaths related to vehicle accident. Traffic fatalities have been very high throughout Fresno County, regardless of what the jurisdiction is. In fact, they've outpaced homicides in our county by quite a bit. So when we have individuals that are arrested for these felony DUIs and where death or serious injury occurs, those are the crimes that are really impacting a lot of people in our community right now.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you, Chair.
I just got one quick question. When you book somebody into the jail, now, sometimes they could be actually here illegally and you don't really know, correct or not correct?
We don't know because
Right.
under the law, we do not ask their immigration status. Sometimes it's obvious when they state things or they put certain information down that,
Right.
that Immigration and Customs Enforcement can, connect the dots and they can figure it out, and then they send the request over for a hold or a detainer.
Right, but they would have to look at the bookings.
Yeah, they look at, and jail bookings
Which
are
is a
public
public
record.
record.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay, I just wanted to make that clear, that we don't know if, somebody could slip through the system.
It happens
All the
probably
time.
more than you know.
Yes, I just wanted to make that, because we don't ask, so that's just how it works. So now I'm gonna ask for public comment. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, this is all we have to do with this item. We don't
Could I
have
ask
to-
one other question of the sheriff?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sheriff, in terms of some other communities to fight back on SB 54, have there been other governmental agencies that have sued the state over SB 54?
I know there has been some talk about it recently. I don't know exactly who is sued over SB 54. I know, talking to my sheriff peers in other counties, that the gentleman back here who spoke on the catalytic converter ordinance from Riverside, they have had a difficult time, at least last year, of getting Immigration and Customs Enforcement to actually make the transfers and come and pick people up as well. Obviously, to a much greater extent than we've had, Immigration and Customs Enforcement had been very responsive here in the Fresno area.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that's it on this item.
We now move to item number 10 under the Administrative Office. Consider and take action on request for determination of public convenience or necessity for application for an alcoholic beverage control type 21 license filed by Chevron Stations Incorporated.
Yeah. There's no protests.
Good morning, Supervisors. Ron Alexander with the Administrative Office. As the clerk mentioned, this is an application for a Type 21 ABC license that was filed by Chevron Stations Incorporated. A Type 21 license is the off-sale general, which is the sale of alcoholic beverages and to be consumed off-site. Management Directive 2400 states that the following three criteria should be met in order to make the determination of public convenience or necessity. The first being that the license would not tend to create a law enforcement problem, that the issuance of the license would provide a needed service to the community, and the issuance of the license will have a positive impact on the local economy. The applicant has provided a written response addressing these three criteria and is available for questions should that need arise. The Department of Public Works was contacted, reviewed this application. There are no zoning issues involving this application, and the Sheriff's Department has been contacted and reviewed this application as well. The applicant is in Census Tract 79.03. There are 6 off-sale licenses are allowed by ABC in this census tract. Currently, there are 8 off-sale licenses. Just to state for the record that the applicant currently has a Type 20 license, which is the off-sale of beer and wine. This is an application to upgrade to a Type 21 license. So approval of this application will not increase the total licenses within that census tract. This is a map of the census tract. The map in tan is the actual census tract here. As you can see, there are 2 locations within that census tract which have all of the licenses. This is a document showing their proximity to the applicant. As you can see, 3 of the current licenses are located within walking distance of the applicant. The other 4 are located, at least 12 miles away. Here we have an aerial view of the applicant's site. As you can see, it's right there on I-5 and 198, pretty close to Harris Ranch to give you an idea where they're located. And we have a view of the applicant's storefront, north view of the applicant's site, the south view of the applicant's site, and then the east view, and west view, of course. And again, here are the 3 criteria to meet in order to make that determination of public convenience or necessity. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for questions.
There was no protest to this deal?
I did not
correct?
receive any protests to this application, no.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board? I'm going to ask for public comment on this item.
Hello, good morning. My name is Steve Rawlings. I am the representative for Chevron Stations, Inc. I'm actually a consultant. I assist them with licenses and permits necessary to sell alcohol in their stores here in California. I wanted to just bring up a couple of items here. I think it was Ron did an excellent job with his presentation. The driver on this particular request is the new products that have been introduced by the White Claws of the world and the Trulies, where they're actually using an ingredient that includes distilled spirits. The alcohol by volume levels, not much different than the products that we're already selling. I think one of the products is 5%, which is what a Modelo is. This is a corporate-owned store, so there's lots of layers of management and policies and procedures in place and a lot of training. So we don't think that this would be any kind of public safety problem there. And last thing I want to mention was that our alcohol display area represents about 2.5% of our sales area on the floor area there. The addition of these products is not going to change the character of our store whatsoever. We are a convenience store that has to offer a lot of products. So with that, I'm available for any questions that anybody may have.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Hearing none, that's in my district, and I'm going to make a motion to approve.
Second?
In a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.
We now move to item number 11, under Administrative Office, discuss and provide direction to staff regarding the format and timing of fiscal year 25-26 recommended budget presentations.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. The purpose of this item today is to review and discuss both the format and the timing of the 25-26 recommended budget to ensure your board is provided with timely and relevant information as we prepare for budget hearings in September. There's been some discussion about when and how that information will be presented, and I want to provide some key dates that will help know what we will have when. As we discussed before, June 24th is the date in which we will provide the preliminary budget. And so the preliminary budget is just giving the county spending authority until we get to our budget hearings in September. On July 7th, department budgets the documents are due to our office for review, so departments will be eagerly working on that until that date. August 22nd is the target date for the recommended budget to be filed, posted, distributed to your board. And then September 15th would be the date in which the actual budget hearings begin. You'll also notice up there other board meetings that we have between now and the budget hearings. All right, I guess my time is up. A couple other quick things. There's a lot of moving parts this year, as you know, and just some other key dates to keep in mind. As you know, the state budget, the May revise, was released last week. Departments are actively reviewing any impacts that may have on their budgets. As you know, the federal budget is operating with a continuing resolution that goes through September 30th. We are actively watching progress on what is being termed the One Big Beautiful Bill Act and what happens with that. But needless to say, there's some potential impacts to the county, and we are watching that closely because that has impacts on our budget. Property tax growth, as you know, that's a big number in our budget. We generally know that in early to mid-June. It's usually announced in late June. So these are key dates for information that we need to give you good information on the budget. What's different this year that is will take time of our office working with departments is, as you know, we've talked to departments about a target of a 5% cut in net county cost. And so departments are being asked to create a proposed budget that includes a 5% cut in net county cost. But the assumptions that go into that budget have been evolving. And so as they get that information, they're submitting it to us. They've also been given instructions to meet with our office to go over the impacts. And that typically happens in June, July, and then we prepare the budget in August. For that reason, as we consider the budget information, the closer we are to that September date, the more information I have for you that's relevant. And at this point, we stand ready to present in any way, shape, or form that's helpful for your board to make decisions. But today, what I'm asking for your direction on specifically to meet your needs and that of the public is the timing of when you'd like to hear budget presentation information for the next fiscal year. But also if there's any specifics to make sure that what we bring to you helps you in that decision-making process so we can plan and prepare in this process. And so I'll stop my presentation there, open for questions, comments, or direction at this time.
Any questions?
Chair.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you to our CAO. We did have a preliminary conversation about this yesterday. And then obviously with all of the moving parts at the state level, I think the state has to pass a budget by June 15th, correct? That's their deadline. So I think for me, I mean, I would love to have the opportunity to, hear from our folks, present their budget, ask some questions. I don't think and at least on my end, we need to have a big in-depth discussion until late September, just to align everything up with the federal budget. I'm going to be doing a couple of outreach events during budget preparation in my district, as our CA knows. But I just want to flag that for my colleagues. I'll be respectful of whatever the consensus is on the process that we're going to have here. But I really feel that there's so many unknowns right now, particularly with the federal budget, that I would like for that to settle down a little bit more to get some more concrete numbers and then align that with the federal budget, because I think that's going to be probably the biggest challenge that we have to work through on there. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I've been clear that I'd like to hear from department heads, whether it's a 5 or 10 minute presentation, what they view their needs are, what their priorities are to meet the mission that they have and in response to the direction from the board. I don't think we can get a good picture without at least hearing from those folks publicly. As I've said, I think the public has a right to hear from each department head, and it doesn't have to be any lengthy presentation, but it should be a presentation that they come to the board and say, hey, here's what's going on, here are the challenges I face, here are the needs that I have, and then we need to make a decision what we want to prioritize. For example, we've talked about obviously correctional officers. We've talked about a district attorney with needing more positions in her office. But I think those folks need to come and present that to us rather than hearing it through the CAO or on a phone call. I think the public has a right to know. It's their money, it's their budget, and so I think that's what we need to do. What the timeline is, I'm not sure. I mean, you said, is it June that the state, okay, so the state has that. We may know fairly soon about where we are with the federal government. Is that accurate?
We'll see. I mean, I get updates daily, and those updates continue to change, and some of those have some pretty significant impacts. What I would say is this, is as those changes come to our office and they come to departments then need to come back and say, what is the impact of this, both program-wise, and it could be a ripple effect of impact. So the time to process and get that back could take some time, but I hope we'll know soon. I'll say that.
Okay. So whether or not we find that information out imminently or later, I don't see any reason why in August, sometime, we can't start to hear from our department heads about what their needs are and how they plan on addressing the mission and the goals that have been outlined by boards in the last year or even now. So I would like to see that happen sooner rather than later. I don't think we have to wait till the end. So that would be my preference. And as I said, I can't support a budget if we're not going to have this out in the public. And I want to support a budget. I think we all, want all of us to support it and feel that it's the best budget that we can have. But I need to hear from department heads, and I need to be able to question them about some of the things that they're saying or some of the things they're not saying. And I think that's all of our roles up here. That's what we're elected to do. I don't think we're elected to have you do the work and then present it to us and say, yeah, sure, let's do it. I think we have more of a role of being inquisitive about each of the departments and what's happening in each department. So I would prefer that we have it sooner rather than later. And I don't think we have to wait till the federal budget is completed. We know that the state will be, so that helps. And that's how I feel about it.
Mr. Chairman, I'm glad to hear my two colleagues, especially Supervisor Chavez. I think June 24th is simply a procedural issue that we roll over the budget so that everything keeps going. And then the real substantial issues will happen in August with obviously the conclusion of our budget hearing on the 15th and 16th. So I appreciate that. I don't think the 24th should be a long, drawn-out process. It's simply procedure and then go on. So the next decision really is before the board. Are we going to have department heads come through the board? Those of us that have been here longer, we have not done that in 10 years.
Well, we did it one time.
Our first year, yeah.
Which was a great waste of time.
Yeah. And my concern with that, when it was our very first year, they did that, and after that, we didn't do it anymore. They come forward and they present what their issues and shortfalls are, but we do not micromanage their departments. So we don't tell them, you have to take this person away and put it there, other than through doing that through positions. And we generally have not done that. Now, if there's new board members are here, and if they want to assert that authority in our departments, then if you can get 3 votes, then that is certainly your prerogative. But I would like to understand a little bit more from you, Supervisor Butterfield. How do you envision that to happening? Because everyone will come in and say, I'm short, which for the first time in over 9 years, that will be the case. Mm-hmm. We've always given them a 1 to 3% increase, and when you give people more money, the decisions are a lot easier because there's nothing to cut. So now that we're in the opposite role due to circumstances beyond our control, how do you envision instructing the department head when they all come and say, we're going to lose X amount of people? How do you envision that to take place? Because that is what I'm not clear on.
You're asking a very good question. I don't see it as my role to tell them, okay, I want you to get rid of this position or that position. That is not my role. But, for example, when I go out to the Animal Service Center and I find out that there's a swamp cooler there that really is not addressing the needs of taking care of animals as well as our staff, if I had not gone out there, I would have expected people running the animal center to say, you know what, we have a swamp cooler out there. That's a bit of a problem. We certainly need to improve that. And then that's a situation. Do I prioritize that and say, that's something we really need to address or not? I wouldn't know that unless a department head comes and expresses the needs of their department. That's an example. It's not about, well, I've got this position, that position, and what do you think? That's not our role.
So I appreciate that, and I fully can accept that. But how through our budget process do you then get an air conditioner for the department that has had a swamp cooler and is facing a 5% reduction? How will, so we have the information.
Right.
But then you as an individual on the board, how do you make that a priority? Other than saying it, that's a priority, which we've all acknowledged that over 2 weeks ago.
Right.
But how do you put that into practice?
Well, that's
my question.
And
Yeah.
that's the discussion that happens in public. That's
Yeah.
exactly the discussion that we have. I say, you know, listen, this has to be a top priority. We've assumed the responsibility to take care of these animals, and that has to be up here. That, for me, that's a top priority. It's not as a priority that's down 5. It goes to the top. That's for me. We have that discussion up here with other priorities that the board says, and that's how we hash things out and make a decision of what are we going to what are we going to use the limited resources that we have, where are we going to place the priorities. That ought to happen out here. And I may get, and you may agree with it, you may not. And that's the process that has to take place, and it should be done in the public, with public input, them also expressing their views on what they hear from department heads. And yes, it's a complicated process. It does take time. Sometimes it can be messy, but I think that's the best process. That's the most transparent process. And that's where I think we hold each of us, department heads and ourselves, accountable.
And again, I have no issue with that, and we should know of that information. I'm more of a pragmatic person, and I simply, again, ask, knowing that, how do you turn a 5% deficit into that department into an air conditioner?
Well, again, I just think it's our debate, it's our process, it's looking at what resources we have and how we want to spend it. And that's our role. I mean, we are the leadership for the community, for the county, for the Board of Supervisors. We have lots of departments, critical services. And I think with the limited resources, it's up to us to decide what are the priorities. After hearing from people what's going on in their departments. And I don't think we can do that very well without hearing from the departments. Because otherwise, I think we get information that's secondhand, thirdhand, fourthhand. I mean, we can pass a budget, but I don't think it's the best process, and I don't think it's the most transparent. And like I say, it's not very smooth. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes we may completely disagree in a very strong way. But I think when you have all the information, then it's up to us to see what the priorities are.
All right, I've said enough.
Yeah.
Just so for me, when I look at the county and all the functions that we have, I mean, it's significant. If you really get into the minutia and the nuances of the county, you could spend every meeting for the next 12 months just talking about that. I look at the buildings. So our the ISD department, which was just split to facilities and IT. Facilities, we have over 400 buildings, I think, technically, between leases and stuff that we own all throughout the county, and then land, pieces of land that we own. And we can spend a month just talking about that. I know when I first got on the Board of Supervisors, I spent a considerable amount of time trying to figure out what assets the county has just in building spaces. And the county is a behemoth. But for me, to boil it all down, there are 3 main departments that spend most of the money here at the county, and that's those departments are Public Health, Department of Social Services, Department of Behavioral Health. And really, to me, the most critical discussion points that we need to have is the limited resources we have that have flexibility is NCC, net county cost. which makes up property tax, sales taxes, vehicle license fees, and a few other sources of funding. NCC right now is about $380 million this budget cycle, and it probably will increase to $410 million, I'm just guessing. But we have a $5.2 billion budget now, which will probably, even though we're making these cuts, I would imagine our budget's going to be around $5.3 or $5.4 billion. It's going to grow, but our costs are expanding. So I say all that to say this. As we figure out what the federal government's going to do, if they make drastic cuts to Medicaid, for example, that's going to impact Department of Behavioral Health, Department of Social Services. I don't think we need to hash things out in here about that, but we need to hear from our department heads who individually may need to come to us and just say, look, there's been a 5% cut, and that's going to impact us by $30 million, and we're going to have to reduce services this way. Or, Board of Supervisors, you're going to have to give us more NCC, which, to me, I can't do. My main focus is always, it's going to be public safety. It's going to be infrastructure. That's going to continue as we move forward into the budget process. One of the things that I do as a supervisor is I meet with department heads. I'll call them, have discussions with them, but the county is so large. I would encourage you, Gary, and you, Luis, as well, to spend some time with the Ag Commissioner, with the Public Defender, just talking to them about what's going on with their budgets. For me, that is where the work is done. So when we sit up here and we get a budget, I've spent 2 months talking to department heads, talking to the CAO's office with a finished product. That way, I don't have to rehash everything out in public because we really don't have enough time. Literally, we could spend an entire year looking at all aspects of the county, and you still would have more work to be done.
Yeah, I agree with that. To really build this budget our job is to work with the CAO, with the department heads, and meet with them and find out what their priorities are, where we're at. And as we go down closer to, the budget hearing, I think really in July, we're going to know the property tax growth. And in our budget, that's going to be the biggest thing, because if you look at state and federal cuts, they basically restrict programs and end programs. And that might be less stuff we actually do because the federal money or state money is not there anymore for a certain program, or the program itself is diminished, so you end up with longer waiting lines in those programs. So this is I kind of understand what you're talking about, and understand what you want to do, but this budget is so much different from a city budget, just way different. And the fact that we have control and we can always go to the department heads directly, where before I don't think you were able to go because that wasn't your budget. Somebody else put the budget together. But this is our budget. And I think I encourage, just like Nathan said, I encourage everybody to talk to department heads. But as we get closer to September, we're going to know more and more. We're going to know a lot already in July. And really, it's going to be, I think the final decisions are going to be, how much did we burn up in budget medication money to finish the year we're coming out of? And then next is, what do we have left? Can we plug some of that budget mitigation money to kind of keep going without huge cuts and only maybe smaller cuts? So those are the things we're going to have to figure out going forward. But me and Brian found that, I think we did it one time, and the previous board did that for years. They brought, department heads, and sometimes it was, even before we got, it was a little bit comical when we were here. It was almost like, I refer to it like an old cartoon where, everybody was acting like a bunch of cartoon characters, telling department heads to dance. There's probably not too many people, some of the older people in this room probably remember those cartoons, but I mean, to me, that's what it looked like. And the thing is, this is our budget. It's not your budget. It's not a, you know, a strong mayor's budget. This is our budget. So that's what I got to say.
So, Mr. Nerlin, yeah, CO, I think the consensus you're going to get out of this discussion right here is I believe we are all in agreement that on June 24th, we will simply roll it over. We will wait, and perhaps at the July 8th meeting, you will have more information, and then at that time, a decision can or will be made if we're going to have department heads come forward, unless the board is willing to make that decision now, or if you want more information. And again, Supervisor, I appreciate everything you've said. I understand your concerns, but having lived through that, again, it's been my experience. Everybody comes up, says they need more money, and yet it seemed very unproductive at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, they may know our priorities, but they're in charge of managing their department. And again, unless we're going to change and tell them that we are going to now start micromanaging our departments, then it's hard for me to see the productiveness of that. Other than, again, I will appreciate the information, knowing things, but like you said, we learn just as much by going out and talking to department heads and visiting the sites as we do having them come forward.
I appreciate all the comments. I understand your sentiment about it. I still maintain it's an important part of developing the budget. And I think the one part from your perspective, why you feel it may not be productive, is the public is not engaged in the process when department heads aren't presenting some of their budgets. And again, I'm not looking for a dog and pony show. I don't want that. And I don't think we've had that at the city. When we had it, it was a bit of a lengthy process, but I felt it was a productive process, or I wouldn't be supporting it. So we have different perspectives, and
Understood.
I respect it.
Understood.
And so we'll see. We'll see when June comes where it goes. For me, I just think the public also needs to be involved, and I think that's when they're presenting their part. Otherwise, it's just us doing it, but the public needs to be a part of this as well, and so that's also my interest. But I appreciate the sentiment, and I know where you're coming from.
I think we have that, and I do agree with what you just described, Supervisor Pacheco. I think on the 24th, we'll have a better picture because the state will pass their budget. But I also do agree with what Supervisor Maggs had said with the three departments that could be suffering from the biggest cuts. I do think we will probably need to hear from those folks, because at the end of the day, they'll come with recommendations, but what do we as a group consider a priority? If we're going to have to triage, what do we triage, right? And I think we need that because we can't violate the Brown Act, right? I can only talk to one individual. So I think for our CAO, however we can work that dynamic out in one of the scheduled meetings, I think that would be helpful to have a conversation about what the cuts mean for our staff and for our operations.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned Supervisor Magzig, the three departments, but I think one you didn't mention was the sheriffs. I don't think you mentioned that. That's obviously a department we've got to address along with the other law enforcement as well. I mean, they're critical for all of us.
The only reason I mentioned those three is those three are very heavily reliant on grants, state and federal funding. So like Department of Behavioral Health right now, I think only receives about $600,000 in NCC, but they are an enterprise that's over $400 million, heavily reliant on Medicaid funding. So it's not that I don't appreciate what the Sheriff's Department does, the District Attorney's Office does, but those three departments too, like the Department of Social Services, if you look at their full operation, they're close to $2 billion alone, just DSS, but heavily reliant on state and federal funding. So as those are reduced, some reductions potentially that could take place could completely wipe out all NCC that we have, not allowing us to function with other departments. So that's the only reason why I mentioned those three. All departments that we have here at the county, from Ag Commissioner to our Auditor, Controller, Tax Collector, to our Assessor Recorder, to our Elections Clerk, all of them do fantastic work. But those three, to me, depending on what happens at the state and federal level, will have the greatest impact on what kind of services we can provide and to NCC.
And again, Supervisor Butterfield, I can see your point, because as Supervisor Magsick said, if we normally get $100 million from the state to run Department of Social Services, a division, and now they're going to give us 80% of that, well, 20% of those people are going to be laid off and unemployed through no fault of ours, because they're all mandated programs, and they're gone. And there is nothing, I believe, that we are going to do to mitigate that, because as you stated and Supervisor Magsick stated, we're going to keep the sheriff whole for law enforcement, we're going to keep the district attorney, we're going to keep the public defender, because you need all three to have a justice system work. But when that happens, other than simply to let the public know that this is coming, there is nothing that this body is going to do to mitigate that kind of a reduction.
Yep.
And that's the way it is, yeah.
Well, I appreciate the discussion. It's still been informative for me, and my goal is to meet the needs of the entire board. But I think having a discussion when we know more will help us to make recommendations that take that into account. So thank you for that. We'll return to that when we get further along in the process, but you've already helped me with some of the comments that you've made today.
We
so.
could talk more. I mean, on the July 8th meeting, we'll know
Yeah.
more.
Thank you.
Yeah. All righty. Is there any public comment on this? Hearing none, we'll go to item 12.
Item number 12, under the Administrative Office and Behavioral Health, adopt resolution authorizing the county to submit a joint grant application with RHCB Development and U Upholdings California.
Good morning, Board. Dylan McCulley, Homelessness Program Manager with the County Administrative Office. The item before you today is an updated.
Excuse me,
Sorry,
we're
is it-
having a really hard time hearing you. Yeah, either put it
Let's-
closer or,
yeah.
Bernice, we got to turn the volume up, but all day we've been having a little bit of trouble.
With this air conditioning right
Yeah.
here, I feel like I'm out on one of my ranches next to the Mornay Blair Station.
All right, I'll try and project a little more. That sounds better. Dylan McCulley, Homelessness Program Manager with the County Administrative Office. The item before you today is an updated MOU and revised resolution authorizing the county to apply for the Home Key Plus program in partnership with RH Community Builders and Upholdings for the Sanger Modular Permanent Supportive Housing Project. The original resolution and MOU were approved by your board on February 11th. However, through the technical assistance provided by HCD, the county was informed that the resolution would need to be revised to include all co-applicants, including Upholdings, as well as the special purpose entity that was created for this project. Additionally, the MOU is being updated to include Upholdings as a development partner and to require that both RH Community Builders and Upholdings actively pursue all available funding sources, including project-based vouchers and other rental subsidies to help ensure the project's long-term financial viability. Additionally, I wanted to provide a very recent update that was not reflected in the agenda item. We were notified late last week that HCD has approved the transfer of the county's No Place Like Home award from the previous Libre Commons project to the Sanger Modular Home Key project. We intend to return to your board in June to authorize the transfer of the No Place Like Home award to the Sanger Modular project. And with the incorporation of those No Place Like Home dollars, the total number of units would increase from 51 to 88, including one on-site manager unit, with a total development budget of approximately $37.9 million and an average cost of $431,000 per unit. This concludes my presentation. Director Holt and I are available to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions from the board? Go ahead.
So I think this is a great example of a win-win. I've never heard of HCD approving.
Ace pulled the alarm.
Interesting.
Okay.
Well, good job.
We make a motion to approve.
Yeah. Yeah. Want to go to the bathroom? I'm not going anywhere.
I'm not
until I
going
hear from
anywhere.
Matt.
I guarantee you I'm not going anywhere.
Hey, Magsick. Oh, it's already off.
Good to go?
Keystone Cops here, baby.
Yeah. Yes. Never had it happen twice.
Oh, jeez. Oh, just fall.
Heading towards the door. Oh, no, I'm cool. I'm cool. I wasn't scared.
Absolutely. Of course.
Don't be dumb about all this thing.
Sure.
We can start.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
The fire marshal can now shut us down and disabled our
Sure. That's the way it always happens.
I think I'm ready to go out to the public.
Okay.
You are chairman.
Yeah.
I don't know, you may have taken it seriously and left.
Okay, my only comment was, I think, and I had talked to CAO about it, that the city of Sanger is all in on this project, so it's pretty
Yes, and-
pretty good project.
Yeah, so we've shared, presented to the city council, and we're in contact with the council member that whose district this project would be in.
Okay, with that, I'm gonna ask for public comment. Okay, hearing none, I'll bring it back to the board.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Second. All in favor, so I saying aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you.
We now move to item 13, receive the Fresno County Behavioral Health Board Annual Report for 2024.
Hi there, I'm Brooke Newell, actually Brooke Newell Frost, sorry, I reverted with the Behavioral Health Board. And in light of having already been asked to keep it short and the 2 alarms, I'm really going to try and keep it short. Our Behavioral Health Board in 2024 concentrated on 3 primary areas. You have those in your memo in front of you, and they're primarily keeping up to date on the Behavioral Health Services Act, learning about the complexities of care court, and updating our bylaws to comply with the changes related to recruitment for vacant and new required positions for the board. I will say that we are pleased that we now have all of the districts represented, unlike many, many years, which is great. However, we have been, bless you, unsuccessful in so far getting a local education representative and a youth representative under the age of 25. That is not uncommon in the state for under age 25. Our recommendations, I'm going to keep really short because of all the complexities that we are facing with the change in the environment. The primary one that because of all these changes, to really focus upon is strengthening communication among all the partners across the behavioral health continuum with the public. In the best of times, behavioral health resource understanding by the public is not a high priority until they need it, and then they don't know where to go. The more everyone communicates about the entire continuum, the better. And so your support with that, and as you discuss these things with managed care plans, et cetera, that would be a benefit to us. Thank you. Since I am here, I do want to take a couple of points that are not part of the actual report because they occurred in 2025 and they would be part of next year. It has to do with a site visit that we attended as a board at the Public Guardian's Office in March. DBH is one of the few county behavioral health departments in the state that has oversight of both types of conservatorship, both probate conservatorship, which is primarily for those with cognitive or dementia issues and can include financial, physical, and other types of abuses. Elder Abuse Month that you talked about, primary area where that occurs. This conservatorship is usually for the remainder of a person's life. LPS, which stands for Lanterman Petrus, I don't forget what the S is the second and is the mental health conservatorship. And these are referred by either a psychiatric facility or the court. This type of conservatorship has to be renewed annually. During this site visit, we learned a great deal, but we are not experts by any stretch. But some things stood out immediately. LPS caseloads are growing. In the last 10 years, the number of criminal cases referrals have tripled. One referral takes reviewing about 200 to 300 pages worth of documents and interviews with clinicians as well as the person. Between 23 and 24, all LPS referrals jumped 24%. The issue is not the jumps, but the funding from the general fund has not been increased for 10 years. How much has inflation alone increased since then? Cumulatively, I looked it up, it's about 35%. DBH has been making up what was needed primarily through behavioral health realignment funds. Given the BHSA funding changes to come, it's quite possible those funds will not stretch far enough to meet all the needs that they're going to have to undertake. I know it's a difficult budget year, believe me. And personally, as a side note, my own legislative sources tell me that we're pretty sure there's not going to be a state budget, but there's going to be a second state budget at the end of September, early October. So just keep that in mind. We ask you to consider some kind of increase from the general fund for the public guardian. I do know it will be a difficult year, but it's important to at least shine the light on the need after 10 years. So that's the first thing. The second issue, I am not asking for money, but I am asking for awareness, commitment, and time. We all know that the baby boomer generation is aging. I'm part of it, and there are a lot of us. The same is true for those with severe behavioral health issues. Where do they go now if an illness, a fall, or a condition requires them to require a skilled nursing facility or rehabilitation, whether it's short-term or long-term? That's the problem. There isn't anywhere which is willing or capable to handle a person with severe mental illness and a related aging or chronic illness issue for a few weeks or years. I am not the person with the details, and after item 12 discussion, I hesitate who I should really be talking to here. Is it the CAO? Is it you? But if no one will take them, where do you think they will go? Our homeless population is already on the rise. I'm asking you to begin thinking about how a perhaps public-private partnership with some kind of health or nursing home facility could occur that would accept Medi-Cal for these patients and provide the full range of care needed that understands a portion of those beds would be for mental health.
Time's up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good timing, I know. I actually just am about done.
See if Ed can get it turned off. Okay.
Thank you. It's an investment of time and commitment to even keep it in the back of your brains as you're meeting with people to think about potential solutions, because it is going to get worse. We've already had, the most immediate need is for short-term care. We've already had 3 people that could not get into the type of facility. This will get worse as more people age. So either they are kept in a hospital at exorbitant rates that I assume the county would have to pay, or they're put on the street.
Okay, thank you.
So my
that
question
your
is, what makes sense? That's it.
Okay.
Thank you. Any questions?
Well, just a few comments. So all the things you're pointing out are spot on, but I think, you know, as I look at this, the needs for people with behavioral health issues, the needs for people that are aging are outpacing revenues that government has. So
Yes.
I think as I look at this and I think about solutions long-term, kids are going to have to start providing more care for parents like what took place 100 years ago. And to the extent that government can provide wraparound services with families that are caring for their children that may have behavioral health issues, because a lot of what I've seen, I just put some information out on the internet too, the state's closing prisons. A lot of those prisoners are ending up on our streets and becoming the responsibility of the county, and yet we are not receiving resources for some of that. That's just a segment of challenges that we're facing. But government does not have enough resource, so we have to begin to prioritize what is our focus. Clearly, public safety infrastructure has been a focus of this board. So as we look at these things, you're pointing out clear challenges that we have, and really I want to challenge the public and our churches and other nonprofits out there. They need to step up because government cannot solve this problem alone, that's for sure. But I thank you for the service that you give us on the board, because you serve as a volunteer. And I appreciate your passion and pointing out these issues to us, so thank you.
Thank you.
Someone want to make a motion to receive?
Motion approved.
Okay, all in favor, so I saying aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, thank you.
Thank you.
We now move to item number 14, Public Works and Planning, approve and authorize chairman to execute Amendment 1 to Agreement Number 21-227 with Albury Volunteer Fire Department, increasing total maximum compensation by $50,000 for a total amount not to exceed $446,000.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Chris Bump with the Department of Public Works and Planning. The item before you today is an amendment to Agreement 21-227 with the Albury Volunteer Fire Department, as well as a corresponding budget resolution for County Service Area 50, which is the area where those services are provided. This contract amendment was requested by the Albury Volunteer Fire Department in order to keep up with their rising costs, primarily associated with vehicle and equipment purchases. And the increased contract amount for this year and for next year is intended to serve as a stopgap while Proposition 218 rate increase procedure can be done during the next fiscal year. That concludes my presentation. I'm here for any questions.
Just real quick, I know we've got representatives from the Albury Fire Department here, which I appreciate the chief is here, and one of the volunteers from the department's here as well. I know with this particular item, it will keep them whole for about the next probably 14 to 16 months, roughly. And this fire season, it's critical that we have all resources available, especially in our foothill and mountain communities. So this is something where we have some reserves within that CSA, as I understand it. We're kind of using those to make sure that we keep that fire department open. I know there was a community meeting that took place as well. Chris, I don't remember if you were there. I know I had staff that was there, but appreciate all the efforts that you're making here. And I want to make crystal clear, Our CSAs, our waterworks districts, and others are all stressed. We've got a number of them here in Fresno County, but I appreciate your efforts, Public Works efforts, to make sure that we keep this fire station open and operational. Long-term, there may need to be some work with Fresno County Fire Protection District and how that district partners with the volunteer stations that are up and down our mountain areas. So I look forward to those conversations as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment on this item? Hearing none, you want to make a motion?
I'll move for approval on this item.
Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried.
We now move to item number 15, Board of Supervisor Committee reports and comments.
You got any, Gary? Or no? Okay. Nobody has any. We'll go to the next item.
Item number 16, Board appointments.
You have any, Luis?
I've got a couple. To the Historical Landmarks and Records Advisory Commission, I want to appoint Janet Nelson to the vacant commission nominated seat formerly held by Alan Carden. To the Auberry Volunteer Fire and Emergency Services Advisory Committee, I want to appoint Austin Holt to the vacant District 5 seat formerly held by David Nearing.
Okay, I've got three. Kingsburg Cemetery District, reappoint Rick Carsey. Central Valley Pest Control District, reappoint Dennis McPhailin. And new appointee in Homes Support Advisory Committee, appoint Darlin Nunes Gonzalez to the Provider at Large position previously held by Lacey Laurie. New term to 4/1/4/27.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to appoint Michelle Halen to the Child Care and Development Local Planning Council, replacing Vong Manatua for a term ending January 4, 2027.
Yes, and I have four. Kevin Lissitson to the Foster Care Standards and Oversight Committee. Mary Lou Brody Minkler to the Behavioral Health Board. Kiana Hines Taylor to the Behavioral Health Board, and Blanca Meyer to the Behavioral Health Board.
Okay. Is there any public comment on these appointments? Hearing none, I'll bring it back to the board.
Second.
Second. All in favor, so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you.
We now move to item number 17, public presentations. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the board on any matter not on this agenda.
Good morning, Chairman Mendez and the rest of the supervisors. My name is Ken Ramos, and I'm the regional executive for Community West Bank. Joining me today is Leslie Minas. Where is she? There she is. She's our support specialist for this area as well. My reason for speaking today is really just twofold. First of all, is to thank the county for the business. Community West Bank has been in Fresno County since 1980, 45 years. And we started in Clovis, California as Clovis Community Bank. Through the years, we've grown, and we are now a $3.6 billion bank with 26 branches all over, from Sacramento to Bakersfield, and also from Paso Robles to Oxnard. With that being said, our commitment to Fresno County is been, it's key, it's our success. There's three banks that are headquartered, out of all the banks that are in Fresno County, there's only three that are headquartered in Fresno County, and we're the one that's been here the longest at 45 years. We recently bought a bank, so we went from Clovis Community Bank to Central Valley Community Bank, and now we're Community West Bank, and that was because of an acquisition we did a year ago. But it's important for us to kind of get that news out, because we've changed all our signing and things of that nature, but I still have people that come up to me and say, hey, did you guys get bought? And no, we didn't. Our commitment to Fresno County is very, very strong. Part of the evidence of that actually is we just redid, we're going to be moving our headquarters from where it currently is to the Woodward Park area. and we signed a long-term lease, so we are very committed to Fresno County. With that being said, we're just grateful for to serve as a financial partner for the Fresno County. As a local business, we are deeply value the importance of organizations supporting one another and the trust that goes with that. So we're very grateful for that. We serve here in Fresno County, we have 7 full-service branches, 4 specialty teams, and like I said before, our headquarters. We employ 162 employees. We have 35,000 accounts in Fresno County to over 6,000 businesses. And with that being, or 6,000 business accounts. With that being said, just the economies of scales that go along with that are pretty impressive. And again, it's because of the partnership that we have with great organizations, great customers such as Fresno County. All the dollars that you put on deposit with us, we invest back into the community through loans, through grants, things of that nature.
Just go ahead and finish it. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. There's just two other things I just want to kind of talk about is our commitment to the community. So I took the liberty to bring, and I'm not going to read the two in entirety, but we had 2 endorsements from 2 local, one nonprofit and one private sector clients, and I just wanted to kind of read a little bit. Poverello House has been a customer of Community West Bank for more than 3 decades. Our relationship begins as a banking relationship and has grown into a partnership, and they are also represented on our board of directors. They have given philanthropically, impact gifts, supporting our mission, and coordinated volunteer teams. We have even partnered to secure a $100,000 grant last year. Our relationship with Community West Bank goes far beyond banking. I know they believe in our work to better the community and that their values align with ours. These reasons and more are why they are Community West Bank customers. And that's from Zach, who's the Chief Executive Officer of Poverello House. And then the second one, just real quick, is Community West Bank has been instrumental in us growing our business. And again, reemphasize that we are relationship driven. And this is from the CFO of San Joaquin Pest Control. So again, I just bring these examples as far as our involvement in the community and just want to reiterate our thanks and our partnership. And if there's any questions that you have that our bank can be a part of or answer, please feel free to reach out to me, to Leslie, or any of us at the bank. Our CEO of the bank sits right here in Fresno.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Hello, how are you doing? Hi, good morning. My name is Lorenzo Carlos, and I am a caregiver with SEIU, Local 2015. Bringing our contract to a close has meant the world to my union, siblings, and I. We have spent years advocating for a better contract, and now we finally have it. Thank you. Our work allows older and disabled people to live in the comfort of their home. Caregivers are always on the front lines, and we need our health care. We do. Our recipients, consumers, are all different. Many with physical disabilities and conditions that require transportation and personal care, not including the disbursement of medications for each individual. Caregiving is real work, and it often involves not just physical labor, but also a working knowledge of how to distribute medication and keep our recipients as healthy as possible. Caregiving is not easy work. It is a labor of love, and you have to be dedicated and lead with compassion. By giving us the contract that we are now ratifying, the board has chosen to honor all of the work I listed above, and for that, we say thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
We, the caregivers of SEIU 2015, are looking forward to building a better future of care with all of you, okay? Thank you for your time, and have a good day. Thank you.
Okay. I just want to remind everybody, you guys, this was an item on the agenda. So the proper way to speak on this item would have been come, pull it, and then talk about it.
Well, we will learn from this.
I'll just let one more person talk on this.
It's just us two. Thank you. So good morning. My name is Alva Rodriguez, and I'm a caregiver from SEIU Local 2015. I just want to start off by saying this. An investment in caregivers is an investment in Fresno itself. By choosing to invest in SEIU Local 2015 caregivers, you have chosen to put care first. You have chosen to stand in solidarity with us and begin paying us what we are worth. With the new contract, we finally feel heard, and we are looking forward to working with you guys, the BOS, to help meet the exploding demand for care that Fresno is facing. And let's be honest here. Fresno's care industry is in crisis, and it has been for years at this point. But with our new contract in play, we are going to be able to address that crisis and begin attracting and retaining more caregivers to the field. More caregivers means more care needs being met, and that is a net positive for everyone living in Fresno County. The board has shown true, genuine leadership and choosing to put care first, and I'd like to thank you all for helping us to help Fresno. We have a long way to go before Fresno's care industry is fixed, but together we can chart a new course and bring a brighter day to Fresno. Together we can build the future of care that our county so desperately needs. And I thank you for your time.
Okay. Is there anyone here wanting to talk, make public comment on closed session? Hearing none, County Council?
Mr. Chairman, we do not anticipate any announcement at a closed session. If the board chooses, it may adjourn following closed session.
I'll make that motion.
Second, all in favor, so I'm saying aye?
Aye.
Okay, with that, we're